Welcome to our third annual School of Management PRiME competition. I'm Kelvin Haukanchet, a business administration major, and have the honor of opening tonight's award ceremony. Today, we're celebrating the School of Management student achievements, and we're also raising awareness of global challenges. And these days, when the world struggles with many social and environmental issues which have been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic and social injustices, society expects responsibility, accountability, and innovative solutions coming from public and private sectors. And as you reviewed the projects the students have submitted to the competition, there are stories, case studies, research on policies and organizations, and proposals for new ventures. And all of these different projects are built around a common theme, the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. These 17 SDGs were set by the United Nations as a universal call to action to end poverty and to protect the planet and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity. Here at the School of Management, our PRiME competition provides students like me with an opportunity to compete at a professional level by demonstrating how organizations balance economic and sustainability goals and look for innovative ways to address the most pressing problems. So, joining me today is the PRiME team who are behind this competition and initiative. They are the Dean of the School of Management, Gerhard Epfelthaler, Valeria Makarova, Professor and PRiME Project Lead, and Susan Wood, Communications Manager and PRiME Project Co-Champion. And now I'd like to hand it over to our Dean of the School of Management, Dean Gerhard.
Thank you, Kelvin, and it's great to see you again. You've helped us through so many events during this year. So many of you who are here today will probably wonder why we call this competition PRiME. It's designed to follow the global principles for responsible management education, or short PRiME, which is the largest organized relationship between the United Nations and business schools worldwide. The idea of PRiME was originally introduced by the United Nations Global Compact, the world's largest corporate sustainability initiative. And it is really a call to companies to align strategies and operations with universal principles on human rights, labor, environment, and anti-corruption. And working through 6 foundational principles, this global educational project engages businesses and management schools to ensure that they provide future leaders with the skills and with the mindset needed to balance economic and sustainability goals. We at the School of Management joined PRiME in 2015, and it was a really natural match that aligned with the School of Management's mission, vision, and values. We're working hard in our programs and other activities to prepare our students for success in their professional and personal lives, in the classroom, through scholarship, through diverse learning experiences, such as this PRiME competition and community engagement. And we do all of that in a local, regional, and in a global context. And by following these principles, we build a stronger, more resilient community, and we bring all stakeholders together to work on the problems that business, government, and society are facing for the future. The PRiME competition is our signature project in this regard. And many are listening today, our students and their friends and families and other supporters, School of Management alumni, our professors, our staff, our adjunct instructors, Cal Lutheran, School of Management community members, all of them are here today to support the PRiME participants. So let me thank you all, especially the participants, for their hard work, our judges, our speakers, and of course, all of you in the audience. And with that, I hand it over to Dr. Valeria Makarova to speak a little more about the PRiME competition journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerhard. Welcome to PRiME, everyone. The competition has a special theme and mission to bring awareness of the Sustainable Development Goals, an ambitious plan for tackling the greatest global challenges. Business as a source for good. We strongly believe in that. And we see a growing number of companies putting these Sustainable Development Goals into practice here, locally, as well as on a global scale. PRiME competition is also part of the Lutheran Festival of Scholars. We stand for excellence in teaching and learning and have developed this competition to provide you, our students, with a skill building experience, experiential learning opportunities, and have fun, unleash your creativity, and learn important things along the way. While PRiME competition is a journey, it may start with a class assignment, or an idea, or pondering question. Each project then develops into written components and presentation. The 14 projects that made it to the final stage, the projects we see today, have taken a lot of time and effort. And today we are proudly celebrating you, our students, your professors, and those who supported you. Thank you, all of you. I'm now handing over to Susan, the PRiME's backbone and co-champion.
Thank you, Valeria, and good evening to everyone. Before we proceed, let's take a moment to recognize all the students who participated in this year's competition, who will be featured in our next PRiME brochure this fall and on the PRiME website. I invite you to join me virtually in giving these students a round of applause for their hard work. Now for the rest of the program, it looks like this. I'll introduce the industry judges. Each will present on behalf of their respective companies on how the UN Sustainable Development Goals are steering their actions and commitments to sustainability and corporate responsibility. Then each will present honorable mentions, followed with the presentation of second place, first place, then grand prize. But stick around for the finale, as we will present this year's People's Choice Award, where more than 4,000 votes were cast from over 50 countries around the globe. We have three amazing judges. Joni Burns, the lead judge for the third year in a row, who's the Environment and Human Health, Safety and Security Manager at Amgen. Then we welcome Megan Bloomer from the Cheesecake Factory, which we all know and love, where she's the Vice President of Sustainability and Corporate Responsibility. And for the second term as judge, we have our very own Cindy Cattell from Community Relations here at Cal Lutheran. Now let's get to it. Cindy, take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to be presenting tonight for Cal Lutheran, the SDG number 11. I'm going to talk about sustainability at California Lutheran University. Sustainability is a campus-wide effort. In fact, it's really built into our operations and part of our service-based learning. So next slide, I'm going to be talking about our buildings first. We have 5 wonderful buildings that are either LEED certified or have been built with a lot of sustainable features. The one on the left you'll see is the Ullman Commons, as well as our Swinson Science Center and Swinson Center and William Rowland Art Center were all up for LEED certification awards. The awards were given to 3 of those 4 because one is still pending. Trinity Hall, some of you may be living in Trinity Hall if you're a student at Cal Lutheran. At Trinity Hall, we have many sustainable features. That one was not up for LEED certified. So now I'd like to move on to my third slide. And that's to talk about the Gold Award. 2 of these were actually award winners with the San Fernando Valley Business Journal. And sustainability and LEED certification in many ways go hand in hand. In terms of LEED certification, there's 8 measures, and what I've listed below are predominantly most of those 8 measures. But we won the Gold Award for having these features, which includes how you site a structure, the design efficiency, having specific sustainable materials, eco-friendly landscaping, operational efficiency, energy and water saving features, room and temperature controls, waste management, recycling, and indoor environmental quality enhancement. There's so many great features. For those students on the call tonight, on the Zoom call, I certainly hope you'll get a chance to visit our new Swinson Science Center once we're all back on campus. So now I'd like to do my last slide, and that's to talk about some other things that happen on campus related to eco-friendly efforts. Now, there were so many things I could have picked. We have so many initiatives going on, but I just picked really 4 things here. The first one is that we've taken out so much of our grass, and it's now been replanted with drought-tolerant plants and wonderful landscapes that are enjoyable and promote harmony with our environment, as well as attract bees. I'll move next on to our very eager working kitties, the working whisker cats. These kitties, if you see them around campus, we started in 2019 with 4 kitties. These are part of a Ventura County program so that in campuses like ours, will move away from pesticides and other things that harm the environment. And instead, we introduce cats that drive away the rodents and keep the damage from happening to things like wiring and other things on campus. Now, these kitties may not always be catching the mice because we do feed them. They do have, as you see below, their little condos, and they're adorable. But keep in mind, they're wild and feral. So if you're on campus, don't try to feed them or pet them, because they are wild feral kitties, but they are working too, so you don't want to interrupt that. Also, I'd like to talk about our seed garden project and the honeybees. So we have a wonderful seed garden on North Campus, as you see on the photo on the right. On that particular seed garden, we also produce a lot of produce and things that we pull off for farm-to-table events on campus, as you see below. And lastly, we do have honeybees. Now, this is a very special project. Back in 2013, this was started on a grant, and we had one of our students named Christina Geldert. She was the project manager over the seed project and one of the founding members of the bee clubs. She is now, proudly I might say, in her third year and beyond, a veterinary medical student at Colorado State University. She became interested in beekeeping and founded the club. She is going on to be one of the first honeybee experts in the country as a vet. Her fellowship here at Cal Lutheran through the Stephen Dorfman Research, which is also associated with the School of Management, was a fellowship to look at honeybee gut. That got her interested, and that set her into a career of saving the honeybees. So with that concludes my presentation on Cal Lutheran, and now I'd like to turn it over to Joni Burns.
Thanks, Cindy. I'm just going to talk a bit about Amgen's environmental sustainability programs, but before I do, if you want to go to the next slide, I just wanted to introduce the principle of ESG, which, as you can see, stands for environmental, social, and governance. This relates to a company's long-term impact on the welfare of stakeholders, society at large, and the environment. This has been around for a while. It's nothing new. There are some similar principles with varying scopes, such as corporate social responsibility, or CSR. Why I wanted to talk about this a little bit is I did notice at least 2 of the projects specifically mentioned ESG programs and policies of the companies that they were looking at. It's been around for a while, but it's definitely growing as investors in particular look to incorporate these broader factors into their investment process, along with the traditional financial analysis. So you might have heard of things like responsible investment, or conversely, divesting from companies that don't have strong environmental performance or social performance or good governance. So next slide. The Sustainable Development Goals provide a very good foundation, a good basis for Amgen's ESG programs. And you'll see here that we do align with several of the SDGs. I will not go into all the details of each of those and what we do, but it definitely guides what we do, and we try to align with many of the principles behind the SDGs. What I do want to point out is you can see that header at the top that talks about things, not only environment, but other things. And that speaks to, again, the holistic approach to sustainability. As I like to say, sustainability with a capital S means, what is a company doing today to make sure they're here tomorrow? And by tomorrow, I mean 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now. So environment is indeed a big part of it. It's much of what I do at Amgen, but things like business ethics, our interaction and involvement and engagement with the community. Workplace, is it a good place to work? Are we attracting talent? Are we keeping talent? Is it, a just, equitable, and diverse workplace environment? So all of those things are critical for the success and the growth of any company, and to ensure that the company will be around in the long term. So now I'll go, and I will talk a little bit more about our environmental programs if you want to advance the slide. As mentioned, much of what I do at Amgen is specifically on our environmental programs. We just wrapped up our latest sort of round of environmental sustainability goals. In 2007, we set some pretty ambitious goals to achieve reductions in waste, water, and carbon emissions to achieve by 2020. As you can see, we're quite successful. We made a huge amount of progress. I'm really proud of what we were able to achieve. But as 2020 approached, we realized we're going to have to set another set of ambitious goals, and we've gone big this time. So next slide. Our next goals, we aim to achieve these by 2027, so just 7 short years away. And we are looking to be carbon neutral by 2027, reduce our water use by 40%, and reduce our waste disposed by 75%. If you look across the industries, our industry, all industries in the world, these are indeed very, very ambitious. And I say that with a lot of pride. I'm also very nervous. I've got a lot of work ahead of me, as do a lot of my colleagues, but we are definitely committed to these goals. How we are going to do this, and this speaks again to how things like the Sustainable Development Goals provide a good foundation. It's not just one person. It's not just environmental people. It's everyone. So of course, we're going to have to be more efficient. Of course, we're going to have to shift from fossil fuels to renewable energy if we're going to go to be carbon neutral. But there's innovation is going to be critical. We're actually going to have to look at how we do things, our core operations, and change some of the ways we do things, and think about things in advance, not at the end when we're generating the waste or after we've used the water, but how are we going to change what we do to just eliminate these wastes in the beginning. And sustainability by design is part of that. And that includes our culture, our corporate culture. It's everyone at Amgen. It's getting everyone to think about this every day as part of their work. We're well on our way. We have a great culture, but there's a lot more to do. And again, the Sustainable Development Goals, that fits very closely with the principles behind the Sustainable Development Goals. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Megan, and she's going to talk to us about the Cheesecake Factory.
Good evening. I'm so excited to be here with all of you tonight to talk about your projects and all of the amazing things that you have created and submitted. But first, I want to take a moment and introduce you to the Cheesecake Factory. So hopefully you know us for our amazing dishes and maybe even some of our decadent desserts. But what you might not know is exactly how green and how socially just we are as a company. So we have a 40-year legacy of doing the right thing. And that's deeply embedded in our culture, our mission, and our values. If we could go to the next slide, it's incredibly important to me that you can see exactly how many of the SDGs we are actively working in and where we have impact areas highlighted with measurable goals to achieve by 2025. So 14 of the 17 areas we have active running programs in. Next slide, please. You'll see the remaining of these 17 goals here, but I get to share just a few highlights with you. So first and foremost, we have an award-winning sustainable sourcing policy that governs everything from animal welfare to social justice and labor laws in other parts of the world. We have a LEED Platinum Corporate Training Center in our corporate campus in Calabasas. In the last 2 years, we've donated over 1 million pounds of amazing, delicious, nutritious food to feeding agencies. And that includes over 20,000 meals that were donated to frontline healthcare workers during COVID to help provide and ease some concerns of our communities. And the last thing that I'm always so privileged to share is that for the 8th consecutive year, the Cheesecake Factory has been named to Fortune's 100 Great Places to Work list, and we continue to be the only restaurant company recognized on that list. This most recent year, our 8th year, we're incredibly proud of, perhaps more so than any other year, because we still achieved recognition of this list, even during COVID, with unprecedented impact to our restaurants. So for us, it speaks to our culture, and our culture speaks to how we align with the UN SDGs and how we truly work to become a socially responsible and sustainable company across all levels of our operation. With that said, I'm going to hand it back over to Cindy to get us started with honorable mentions.
Great, thank you, Megan. Well, I would like to start off with naming the first honorable mention and telling you a little bit about what these were picked for. Not everybody could win. There were so many wonderful presentations, posters, PowerPoints, papers, that we had a really hard time just narrowing it down to the 3 finalists and winners. So we picked, as a group, 3 honorable mentions that we wanted to honor tonight. And I'd like to present the first one. This particular honorable mention is by author Emily Crosby for Autodesk. And the thing I liked about Autodesk and what we talked about as a group that we thought was so wonderful was the amazing poster and the very polished presentation that was presented by Emily. Yes, it was a great paper, but if you ever get a chance, go back and look at the poster and look at the presentation, because it's perhaps one of the best student films I've ever seen in my 2 years of judging the contest. So with that, let me hand it over now to Joni.
So the next honorable mention went to the a company that was called Utopia by, I'm not going to go through all the names, but by these 4 authors. Utopia was an idea to be have a mask that was versatile and more flexible in its use. It was it can also double as a hair tie. And what I really liked about this is that it was quite well researched. It was very good. You know, this was a business paper, so there was a great SWOT analysis. And I liked kind of the creativity behind these masks that could double as a hair tie. So really good work there. And we couldn't not have something COVID related in this day and age. So with that, we'll go back to Megan.
So our final honorable mention for the evening is LGBT+ inclusivity in education. And this project by Erin was so incredibly well researched and thoughtful in her approach to how you advocate for underrepresented and vulnerable populations while still trying to make everything inclusive and intersectional. It was really amazing tie to the use of the UN SDGs, the UN SDGs. And I just really thought, you know, we all agreed this was a project that had to at least get honorable mention for the thoughtfulness and the inclusivity. So Joni, you want to come on back and start us with our award announcements?
Okay, so this is for second place. This project was the first phase of a broader research proposal. It was aimed at testing the effectiveness and usefulness of an automated savings product designed to train and motivate beginning savers, and particularly those living paycheck to paycheck. So it would be kind of like the 401k for people who just aren't there yet, and it really helps them, encourages them to save. The initial part of the research, which is what we saw, was to determine if there's a market, and that was done by way of a literature review. It was very, very thorough. There was a great critical analysis, and it generated a series of follow-on questions. You could see that the author really learned as they did their research, and it prompted them to think, posit, this is something else that could use more research. I really liked how the author identified links to 6 sustainable development goals. They were very appropriate links. There was no stretches there, really tied it in well. And then there was a strong conclusion. The rationality and the rationality and financial knowledge are important, but they're not enough on their own to induce good financial savings. So it was very sound research. And with that, the prize goes to Beginning to Save by Ann Whitting. Let's give her a round of applause. So I don't know if Ann is with us this evening and can come on.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can. Is that you, Ann?
Yes. Can you hear
Excellent.
me?
I can indeed. So congratulations. I'm delighted that you're here tonight. We were all very impressed by the quality of your research. And I guess what I'm interested to hear is how familiar you were with the Sustainable Development Goals before you started your research, or were you able to find those linkages after you started your research?
I heard of them as research because research and for a class behavioral finance, and one of the strong suggestions that we submit our proposal to the petition. So I've had them before. It's very exciting how many people are working on these goals.
Okay, excellent. There was a little bit of breakup in your audio, but I definitely understood what you heard, and that that's great to hear. And the other thing I just want to say is I really look forward. I mean, this is clearly the beginning of your research, and I really look forward to maybe seeing you at next year's PRiME competition with the continuation of your research. So thank you very much, and congratulations again. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and. Yep, I'm going to pass it on to Cindy for our first place.
Great, thank you, Joni. Well, I'm so excited about our first place winner this year. This is a continuation from a paper from another year. It is on a very important topic to with California, which is SDG goal number 6. It's original research that include interviews and surveys and analysis of that information. It was really a great paper, great analysis, strong poster and presentation, and just all around a great project. So with that, I'd like to congratulate the winner, Hope Ramos, for Conflict on Water. Let's give her a round of applause. Great. Now, Hope, do you happen to be out there? If you are, we're going to unmute you. And I have a question for you about how you got this idea for this 2 years worth of research that you've conducted.
Yes. Hello. Hi, I'm here.
And did you hear my question, Hope?
Yes. Yeah. So I chose the topic because I have family in Northern California who are actually farmers, and they have their own walnut and almond orchards. So I got to experience their struggle during the 2012 to 2017 drought, and it's seeing them struggle to obtain water for their orchards and everything was pretty hard to see, as well as like their neighbors and everyone. So I wanted to examine like how this policy would affect Northern California, and maybe hopefully in the future I can be able to look at all of California's farmers and their perceptions.
Well, great job. We look forward to even more research from you in future years, and hope to see you, your name on journals and other publications in the future. So thank you so much for your wonderful submission. Now I'd like to turn it over to Megan.
I, again, have an amazing honor of the evening of getting to announce the grand prize. So this project team used a dual approach of both business and education to address what is maybe one of the hardest UN SDGs, and that's gender equity and gender equality. The team used a multifaceted approach to close both the existing gender gap as well as to try to remedy the disparities that already exist in our cultures. It is my great honor to award Anna, Alexa, and Melissa with grand prize for their project, Leading Ladies. So Anna, Alexa, or Melissa, if any of you are here, I'd love for you to unmute yourself so I can just ask you a really simple, easy question.
Hi, so I know that some of my group members, one of them is in class and one of them is at work, so I'm here representing us.
Wonderful. Okay. So Melissa, what do you think was your biggest learning outcome from this project, and specifically having to work with the UN SDG goal?
I think for us, our biggest learning outcome was just seeing how we can fit in an SDG goal into a real life business or a nonprofit in our, in our project. We really had to think about, everything we were doing as a company and really tried to put ourselves in that, perspective as if we were real, like what would we do? Is this realistic? And what can we realistically do to incorporate this development goal into like our project and try to solve a giant problem with just, whatever resources we can contribute on hand on our side.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. And obviously, congratulations. And please have a socially distant celebration with your project team members once they get out of class.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So once again, I will turn it back over to Joni.
And we do have one more award before we wrap it up for the night. So as you heard, this is the People's Choice. There were over 4,000 votes cast from over 50 countries. That is just amazing. And it went to Words for the World. So congratulations to that team for a really interesting project that looked at building a global library that exchanges books, used books, and increases literacy across the world. So it was very interesting to see. Big shout out to you folks as well. And with that, sorry. And I want to reiterate what was said at the top of the presentation, and that is that everyone's work was greatly appreciated. This is just such a fun competition to judge. It just gives me hope to see the types of work people are doing, the brilliance of young people like you. So thank you to you. Thanks to the PRiME team, the CLU faculty, of course, my fellow judges, and again, the students and participants. And with that, we will wrap up the 2021 PRiME competition and hope to see you all back in 2022, possibly even in person. Let's hope so. So thank you.